Ladies and gentlemen, this is internet personality Vangelus, and we are hitting the HobbyLink Japan Hall of Armor one more time to take a look at Sentinel's re-edit War Machine, Chemical Attack's design take on Rhodey's own trademark Stark Suit. This release was a beefcake precursor to what would come in the Hulkbuster box, upping both the price point and physical girth from the re-edit Iron Men who had come before. So let's see what makes this military man machine tick. The first thing that stands out about re-edit War Machine is his size. He's taller, thicker, and slightly wider than his predecessors. His sculpt is laden with obvious armor plating, stacked in layers of warlike machinery. His gauntlets are beefed out with machine gun violence, and his shoulders and collar threaten to devour his helmeted head. Basically, he looks like a walking tank when compared to the bleeding edge and extremist re-edit Iron Men, and contains more diecast than the two of them put together. Probably. I don't have a scale. War Machine's colors are a healthy mix of grays and silvers spread across his armor with a pleasing level of complexity. It sounds like a boring combo, but re-edit Rhodey uses a series of metallic and matte-talic sheens to constantly catch light and look interesting under almost any condition. The helmet is on topic and Iron Man, as you do, though it is kind of buried within the collar of the armor, and that's partly because of this badass Kerblasto backpack. It's got a Gatling gun and a missile pod, each on individually jointed armatures, and able to loom all threateningly and proper over either of War Machine's shoulders. And if that's not enough firepower for you, the collar chunks on either side of his head can also pop open to reveal more missile spam. It's almost like he's a machine made for war. And as this is a re-edit machine made for war, War Machine's got a switch to flip on his back which lights up a pair of red LEDs in his head and chest. I love the fact that Sentinel is delivering a new LED color on just about every new figure in this line, and the crimson glow found within War Machine is menacing, powerful, and badass. As always, test batteries come pre-installed, but be prepared to have to switch in a fresh pair of LR41s sooner than later. As always with re-edit Iron Man toy, do not pull on the head, do not pull on the torso, because there's wires running through there. Regardless, the base of the neck is on a ball socket joint, as is the top of the head, although with all this stuff around it, it's a bit more difficult to work some of the tilt out of there, but you can get a little bit of it going on. Don't push it, though. And there's also that swivel along the circle on the side of his head for looking up, and then getting a little peek at the wiring inside if you shine a light in there, because you're a weirdo. His shoulders can go outwards, the shoulder pad raises up to keep a nice natural-looking slope as it does so. They can roll forwards and backwards, they can roll in a nice ovular motion on a ball socket joint in here. There's a cup holding that in, but there aren't really any, like, crazy engineering worky bits inside of that shoulder joint, at least none that I can identify, other than, like, this Fig Arts looking cup that prevents you from seeing the hole inside. There is a bicep swivel, and if you go to the elbow, there's a pretty cool mechanism going on here. Watch that silver thing, because it's gonna disappear in the double-jointed elbow. There's a bit of ribbing that gets revealed there. It looks pretty good as a mechanism. Like, there's some stuff happening. Nothing crazy, but just enough for me to feel fairly satisfied. Also, speaking of his wrists, this thing can get out of the way of the wrist, and then the wrist is on its own Fig Art style connection where there's a hinge and a swivel and a ball socket all in one. There's also a wrist cuff. That gray cuff piece is moving around a bit. That's a loose piece, which sometimes can get hooked on the socket that it's covering up. But there is a nice amount of wrist movement on here. It's basically like a Fig Arts wrist, as I may have alluded to at some point. I'm not actually sure if I did yet. The abs can go forward, backward, side to side, and they reveal some of an undersuit in there, which is pretty cool. This is one of them real nice ab joints. Reveals a little bit of plating here as well on the back while you move it around. The lower body is also on a ball joint. This reveals, you can see right there, another undersuit piece, or implied undersuit piece. And on the front here, this, I was going to call it a square, but it's got more edges. It kind of sucks in to the belly button a bit if you tip this guy forward a whole lot, but then it's sort of stuck like that, and I can't even just fold it down, I have to kind of massage it down. I think there might be mold flash or something catching it on something in there, but it eventually just sort of comes loose and works itself out, but whenever I want to fold it down flush, I can never get it to do quite what I want. Come on, do what I want! It did what I want. Anyway, the weapons up here, by the way, can rotate around. They're on a triple hinged connection that can swivel at its connection base, and then there's a ratchet joint here to click that down if you want to click it down. So, even the weapons are quite posable, as are the hips. They can kick forward a little bit, but then you're going to bang into something. They can roll outwards. What I really like about this mechanism is when they go outwards, the silver piece there goes right in to the more webbed-looking, kind of ribbed-looking cup. That's neat. As for forward-backward motion, like, this looks pretty limited. There's a fig art style thing here, although it's more of a curved railing, and it's a click-to-click thing where it unclicks and then re-clicks there. You can't really pause it anywhere inside that railing because then it's loose, but each leg can do that separate from the other, and once that's done, you can kick all the way forward. That's a solid feeling mechanism, and it's in the instructions, but it's not entirely clear what they mean in the instructions because it's you know, there's no English in there, but you just sort of grab this and then they'll show you a picture of the rail, so if you just pull it along that direction, it'll click down and good times are ahead. There's also a thigh swivel, FYI. And there is a knee joint. This is a Sentinel re-edit toy. It's going to do something pretty cool. Like, that's satisfying, because this guy's a bulkier suit, and like, just all this stuff getting revealed. And also, I like the direction this fin moves, where it kind of sucks in, but then, like, slides out as well. It's slick, man. I like this a lot. Down here on the ankles, we've got a ball socket joint. And when I'm not popping that thing out, there's also a dedicated hinge down here, dedicated tilt. Whole lot of tilt. Big-ass toe joint. And even this toe, like, it looks like it's almost like sucking the silver piece in. Like, you know, it's a hollow thing that's just sliding over something. But the appearance is super neat. So, for a bulkier re-edit release that is also not a Hulkbuster, War Machine brings it. This guy brings the solid, tactile hand feel of the Extremis armor, but mixes back in a few more of those cool engineering tricks seen on the Bleeding Edge. Nothing on the level of the Bleeding Edge. That thing remains, I think, untouched as far as the re-edit series goes. But this guy, he's as solid as the Extremis. He's bigger, but it feels like there are more moving parts because there's more volume to operate in. So I'm very impressed. Before we get back into the business of hands, let's talk weaponry. Yes, even more weaponry. The plates on his forearms can be removed and replaced with one of two options. There are 6 panels in total. A pair of quote-unquote unarmed panels, a pair with missiles, and a pair with, well, they look like piston railgun laser launcher pods. Scientific. Anyway, it's real easy to swap these in and out, and whether you prefer things symmetrical or asymmetrical, they add a whole lot of play value and display variance to the package. Now, back to the business at hand. The business of hands. Rhodey's got fists, as you do, and they can pop off to be replaced with a number of optional extra pairs, like these open hands, which aren't calm, but aren't really splayed or dynamic either, just open. The next pair are your usual repulsor thrusting hands, though in Rhodey's case, they also work a real charm for a military salute from a military man. And then, of course, some properly splayed jazz hands, showing you that these gloves have fingers and that those fingers can spread. The final pair of hands are for the other kind of splay, with less spread and more knuckle-curled grope in the sculpt of the fingers. War Machine's re-edit display stand is nothing new, adding one more potential linked stage in a Sentinel Hall of Armor setup. There's a rotating bit in the middle, the tube-ish backdrop can be removed, and there's an attachable flight arm with paint-protecting rubber on the inside of its waist clip. But this time, the flight arm has got detents to its posability, rather than relying on straight-up friction. This is huge for War Machine, since he is a much heavier figure than the Bleeding Edge or even Extremis re-edit suits. This guy fits in like a charm with the rest of Chemical Attack's Iron Man suit designs. He brings a solid Sentinel re-edit game, with incredibly cool engineering woven into a slick sculpt, proper color work, and a satisfying build quality. Rhodey brings something fresh to the table in his myriad weapon gimmicks, larger size and beefy weight, and remember, he came out before the re-edit Hulkbuster. While the scale is certainly weird, I find that War Machine's visible bulk almost almost lets it pull the same trick that the Hulkbuster did in looking like an immensely large 6-inch scale figure, but not quite as smoothly and certainly not as effectively. Sentinel's re-edit Iron Men are pricey pieces at basic retail, and War Machine adds an extra $40 or so with all his extra mass. But man, if he isn't the most tactile beefcake solid of the bunch, taking what the Extremis suit did and amping up its in-hand hand feel without crossing a kooky Rubicon like the Hulkbuster did. This guy is probably the most solid total package of the line to date. But he's also Rhodey the War Machine, and not Tony Stark the Iron Man. Anyway, this has been internet personality Vangelus, and guess what? There's a new re-edit figure on the horizon in the form of the black and gold Marvel Now suit. Fingers crossed that this series goes for double digits. Very slowly, at an affordable rhythm.